Hello and welcome to Cornish Walking Trails. We're here at Cambrone near Redruth.
Paradise private beach.
In today's video we're trying to trace the route of an electric tramway that used to run between Redruth and Camborne. It has a very interesting history, including carrying pasties for miners. So Cambrone is one of the highest points in this area. The reason we've come up to this point is to try to trace the route that started in Redruth, wound its way through Poole, Tuckermill and eventually terminated in Camborne. The tramway is one of the unique things in this county. There was none other like it in Cornwall at that time. Opened in 1902 and it had single-decker and double-decker trams.
Really excited about doing this walk today, Sarah. I've actually wanted to do this for ages. So it's not a particularly long walk, it's just over 3 miles, but we're going to trace the old tramway line. We're going to start over there, which is Redruth. We're going to gradually walk towards Poole area, where a lot of the old mines used to be situated, tin and copper mines, and we're going to finish off over there, which is in Camborne.
Yeah.
We want to see if there's any evidence of the old tramway, and we want to see how things have changed. We've got some old photos, and we want to see basically what it looks like today.
So the tourist map doesn't really include Camborne and Redruth very much, does it? It's kind of overlooked in Cornwall, so you may not have visited here before. In its heyday, when the mining industry was at its peak, Camborne and Redruth were really wealthy, which is one of the reasons they elected to put the tramway here, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's quite an unusual tramway because it carried both passengers and it carried mineral goods as well.
Yeah, which we'll go into in a bit more detail when we're down on the ground.
So did you know, Sarah, as well as carrying passengers and mineral goods, it also carried something really important.
What's that?
Pasties.
Why?
They used to do a pasty lunchtime special. So the miners' wives and family, they could make a pasty for their menfolk. They would put it onto the tram and it would be delivered to the mines for their lunch.
So does that mean you're having a pasty for lunch?
No, that's a really good idea. All aboard the Pasty Special.
So just to give you an indication and a feel for the wealth that was in and around this area at the time, we've brought a copy of Wilkie Collins' Rambles Beyond Railways with us, and in that he gives us a lovely paragraph about Redruth at that time. He visited St Ives before Redruth, and this is when he's just leaving St Ives, and he says, "Leaving St Ives on our way to the northern coast, we now passed through the central part of the mining districts of Cornwall. Chimneys and engine houses checkered the surface of the landscape. Towns showed a sudden increase in importance. Villages grew large and populous. Inns disappeared and hotels arose in their stead. People became less curious to know who we were, stared at us less, gossiped with us less. All that we saw and heard tended to convince us that we'd left the picturesque and the primitive and had got into the commercial part of the county among sharp, prosperous, business-like people. It was like walking out of a painter's studio into a merchant's counting house." So the contrast between the coast and Redruth was quite stark. So we're in Redruth now. There's the tin miner statue behind us. Look.
Beauty, isn't it?
Got his candles around his neck.
Yeah.
So where did the tram track actually start?
So it started towards the bottom of the main street, just as you go up the hill, a little area called West End.
And that's this way?
Yeah.
Let's go. So there's evidence, if you look up, of the form of prosperity that Wilkie Collins would have seen.
There is, isn't it? Always look up in a town,
Yeah.
and you'll uncover, you'll unscratch its history.
Let's do a bit more scratching. With us today we have the archive photograph series of Redruth compiled by Paddy Bradley. He has a whole section on the Camborne and Redruth tramway, and we're going to look at this photo first of all.
So we're stood at the terminus there, the West End terminus here in Redruth off the Tramway.
Okay, and we're at the top of West End, aren't we?
Yes, and we're looking for evidence basically, but I love the photo from the book.
There's the old photograph showing beautifully one of the double-decker tram cars.
Yeah, tram number 7.
Number 7.
With driver E. Wallace at the controls.
Okay, and we reckon that it was probably at this spot. You can see the bay windows on that building over there are the same as in the photograph, and that would have been the tea room.
Yeah. So the other book we're using today is this one. It's a lovely book. It's called Cornwall's Electric Tramcars. And inside here, there's 2 photos here showing the West End terminus here at Redruth. And the bottom one here was in the year 1908. And it tells me that the building here with the railings and the people outside, that was the tramway office and the waiting room. And the building here on the left, which has got the awnings outside, that building is almost identical today, and it's now called Tram House.
So we've now left the terminus at West End, and we've come across Redruth County School, a wonderful landmark, and a location where we know we've got an old photo. So let's have a look around. Just arrived at Redruth County School, and there is a date on it. It says 1907. Wow, it's quite a grand building. So this is now called Crouchy, and it's a creative space for artists and potters and all people creative. So where's the tram car?
The tram car's there.
Yes.
Going down the hill.
And we've just come up to the front door, haven't we?
So this old image is from 1909, so it was within 2 years after the school building here had been opened.
I don't think we can get to the same spot that the photographer took this, because we're in the corner of the grounds now, and look what's behind you. Some rather large trees, isn't there?
Yeah, so we might not be able to match it up.
No, no, but
building is identical, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? So there you can see the stairway going up. Isn't it spectacular? So that was Redruth School. Beautiful facade, cut granite. Very imposing actually, isn't it?
I just went up to see if I could take the shot from the exact place it was taken all that time ago, but there's housing up there now, so I can't. So
trees.
Showing it what it does look like today anyway for you. So where are we heading next?
I think we're going to Barncoo's Terrace. 2 things of interest there. There was a loop there which allowed 2 tram cars to pass each other if they were going in different directions.
Okay. I was wondering that because I didn't know if it was single track all the way or whether...
Most of the way, and then they just had these loops so they could pass. And it's also, sadly, the site of the first fatality. So we'll just head down that way. Right. Are you looking to the left?
I am. That's where we were. You're on
we were there earlier. Gosh, it looks quite far away from here.
So the tramway here, Sarah, was opened on the 7th of November 1902. And on the 29th of November, so the very same month in the same year, 1902, came the first fatal accident. So single-deck car number 6 was being driven from Redruth when passing the gate at Barncoo's Union Hospital. The tram hit one of its elderly residents. He was badly injured, and although in an attempt to save his life he had a leg amputated, he died later that night. At the inquest it was stated he suffered from gout, was partially blind and deaf, and liked the bottle. Before he died he admitted he had no idea that the tram was approaching in the darkness, and both the driver and the company were cleared of all blame.
Yeah. We're thinking potentially this is the spot where this poor chap was knocked over.
Yeah, the first fatality.
Oh dear.
Those houses are still there, on the right hand side.
Yes, I think this one here is probably the grey one above the hydrangea by the traffic lights.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. From here, let's head towards the mining district that created all the wealth for this area back in the 19th century. So we're now in a Luggan Highway, and this is where Eastpool Mine was. And to show you how it looks back then in 1921 or 1907, I can't remember the date, and I can't read upside down.
It's 1907.
Oh, well done. Now the only landmark that we can see today is this engine house above my shoulder. You can see it peeking up behind Lidl.
The rest of that is all gone, isn't it?
Yes, the rest of it is all buried underneath Morrison's car park. At the bottom of Morrison's car park is a National Trust preserved mine engine, and we're going to go and visit that now.
I have a question, Sarah.
Okay.
So why do they build a mine in the corner of a supermarket car park?
Well, that's the question of which came first, isn't it? The chicken or the egg? Have you noticed something about that?
It's in the shape of Cornwall.
It is, isn't it?
Brilliant, isn't it? With the old wine bits.
Yeah, excellent. So these are the patterns. These are what was pushed into sand before the hot metal was poured into the shape that remained. I love the display. Tip of Cornwall. Very good. Oh, hidden at the back here is a film all about it. Oh, I wish we had more time. Oh, it tells you everything. You don't need us.
The miners now replaced by the sounds of nature. But where there was once a mining industry, now there is a thriving heritage industry.
So if you want to come and find out about mining, this is the place to come. Excellent. This is what's left, visibly left, of the mining activity that was happening when this tramway was actually working. Behind me, look at that. You cannot miss that chimney. The letters EPAL, East Pool and Agar Limited. That's actually the company that extracted and sold the arsenic from this site back in the 1920s. We're going to go up inside that engine house. It's huge. I can't get it all in frame. There we go. Just about. It's got one of the biggest beam engines, and it's one of the last to close in this area. Within the impressive engine house, which was one of the last to be built in Cornwall, you will find the equally impressive Taylor's engine built in 1892. The cast iron beam or bob is 10 metres in length and weighs over 52 tonnes. This engine was powered by steam and was very efficient. It pumped 90 gallons of water with every stroke.
Mine's getting deeper, the pump right has to go down further, ends up weighing 170 tonnes. It has to have these three counterbalance weights underground. One of them's on the surface, which is worth taking in.
What you found?
Some old graffiti from Stokers.
Really?
H. Hicks, W. Tregenza and B. Harvey. Classic Cornish names,
This is
aren't they?
etched in the window like that.
Yeah. Graffiti.
Oh, amazing. Ooh, a postcard.
I have. So your mum gave us this. It shows this mine. I'm not quite sure what date, but we have got the same photograph in our old book.
Are we going to see if we can match it up?
Yes.
So I think that's probably taken up in the supermarket car park.
Yeah, I agree.
Let's go and have a look then.
Let's try and marry it up. So here's the old postcard, and I think we're pretty much in the same spot. You can see the old chimney with EPAL just like the photograph, and there is the old engine house. No more headgear, and we can't quite see the whim anymore because we've got all of this undergrowth. But I think we've definitely found some evidence of the old mining history, so there might not be much evidence of the electric tram car anymore, but this is definitely the same spot, isn't it?
It is. Yeah, it's perfect, isn't it? Lined up perfectly.
Tick box.
So EPAL, do you know what that stands for?
Yeah, I've just said it.
Oh, okay.
Do you know what it stands for?
East Pool Agar Limited.
Yeah.
There we go. Eat pasties
All lifetime.
Lifetime, there we are. Eat pasties all lifetime. You won't go far wrong.
This particular tramway was unusual because it included a mineral transport system. Ore was taken from East Pool and Agar United mines to Tolvaden Valley for weighing and crushing. So just before we leave the mining area, one last thing to catch up on, the Pasty Special. So tell us about that, Andrew. What happened?
It was a special tram. It left Redruth every day at 12 o'clock. It was called the Pasty Special. And for a penny, you could actually bring a pasty down to the tram, homemade obviously.
Yeah.
And it would be delivered to the miners. It would
Okay.
there'd be different stops along the way at the various mines.
So a little lad would come up to the tram, find all these pasties and distribute them amongst the miners. Woe betide if they got it wrong.
Oh God, can you imagine that? It'd be hell up.
All aboard for the Pasty Special. Can you imagine the smell on that tram?
Oh, it'd be handsome, wouldn't it?
You can smell it now. His baker's just down there.
I wouldn't be any good as a tram driver. I would edit all before it got there.
From the site of East Pool Mine, it's a short walk to Pool. This is another photograph taken down here in Pool, and what is significant about this one is on that lamppost is a stop sign.
Just there.
So how did that work?
So when they first introduced the tram cars, you could flag it down basically. So whenever you wanted to get on and off, you could just wave it down. But it was so popular, can you imagine everybody was literally waving it down all the time? So it was late all the time, so they had to introduce proper designated stops.
And this is one of them?
Yeah, and I think a lot of modern day bus stops match up with where the trams were stopping.
I'm going to test that theory. Let's go and find this stop sign then.
Okay.
So we're roughly in the same place, because East Pool House, the blue one, is that middle one, isn't it?
Yeah.
But this granite building no longer exists. It's not survived the modern road layout. So do you think your bus stop theory's right?
Well, it's not there, is it?
No.
So it's probably a no then.
The other thing that the tram cars became useful for was as a postal service between Camborne and Redruth. Just across the road here is where the old post office used to be. See?
Yeah, I do know.
Yeah.
So got this photo here.
Yeah.
So that building there was the old post office.
Yeah, and I think if you take it away, it probably looks identical still, virtually.
And really conveniently, it's actually got the old post office written on it, hasn't it? Going back to this though, can you see they've got the old petrol pump there?
Oh, I didn't notice.
Yeah, that building's obviously gone now, isn't it?
Got the tram car in the road.
Try and get my finger out of it. There we go. Is that better?
Yeah. So we haven't seen any evidence at all of these, have we? The lampposts that carried the electric wires to serve and make the tram car go.
No, they've all gone now, haven't they?
Yeah, there's nothing over there at all, is there? There isn't even a lamppost.
No. All gone. The right spot here, isn't it?
Yeah, the old post office. I love what they've done on the side there. It's meant to be an old post and horses, the shades.
It's really good, isn't it?
So our next landmark is going to be Heartlands. So we're here at Heartlands. Heartlands is on the site of the former Robinson Shaft, and it was redeveloped a few years ago. It's got artisan shops, Red River Cafe behind me that serves a lovely lunch, and there's an exhibition centre and a huge play park. Do you think the dog's allowed in the exhibition centre?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's
Give it a go, huh?
Yeah.
It's free entry to Heartlands, and there is a display of the old equipment used in the mines more recently, so when South Crouchy was still going in the late 1980s and 90s. In addition to that, they've got a static display and memories from the tin miners that actually went underground in South Crouchy back then.
But we were more closely monitored for regulation of Crouchy in the early years when I was there, than the people working in the earlier power of the strip.
And I was never one of the people at the sharp end, but I had to constitute deafness, which can be quite debilitating. The slow accidents, I think they're described as.
The exhibition centre here is all focused on mining, old photos, bow maidens here, that's what I would have been 100 years ago, 200 years ago, and there's lots of things that are from the mining industry throughout the period it was active. It's well worth a wander around, it's really interactive.
Do you remember that? It was on the wall outside of South Crofty. It says Cornish lads are fishermen and Cornish lads are miners too. When the fish and tin are gone, what are the Cornish boys to do?
I do remember that. They got funding though recently, didn't they? To revive it all.
Yeah,
40 million, isn't it?
Looking for tungsten, I think, aren't they?
It's all our modern day electrical gadgets need these elements, don't they?
We won't be able to charge the lithium batteries in our cars, and we won't be able to make efficient use of the power that we generate and store. Tin really is a critical metal.
South Crofty is just across the way, about a mile away, and it was one of the last tin mines in Cornwall to close.
Closed in 1998.
Did it? And there's been various attempts to reopen it over the years, but this seems like a really serious attempt, isn't it? They've got funding of 40 million, so who knows, there might be miners back in Cornwall again.
All aboard the Pasty Special. It's really hot. Oh, it's boiling.
Oh, it looks handsome.
It's all gone.
Bit for the boy. We're now outside McDonald's. Aren't we lucky? Look at this picture here. So this building was around when the tram was running. It's not here anymore, but this is actually a very important building to the tram because it's where they generated the electricity, and behind it you had the engineering sheds where they repaired the tram cars.
So those are the tram sheds.
Unfortunately today it's all gone.
And there is a McDonald's.
There is, but behind McDonald's there is actually still a depot used by our local electricity board. So there is kind of a shadow of what was there before still here. From the site of the former depot, we're heading towards Tucking Mill. We're now in Tucking Mill, and we've got some lovely old photos in this book showing them laying the track here. This page is really interesting, so we can see them laying the track. So it actually says road excavation and track laying in Pendarvis Street, Tucking Mill, which is where we are. And it's hardly changed, has it?
Very similar, isn't it?
This started in 1902, and the works chimney can be seen in the skyline, and the foreman ganger at the extreme right of the picture is someone called J. Hurd. Gosh, I wonder what's happened to his family. Obviously we have no chimney anymore because McDonald's is in the place of the depot, but I think that's a pretty good match. 3 seconds, 2, 1.
No danger money doing this.
No! My heart was going with you in the middle of this fast road.
You haven't just upped our life insurance, have you?
No. There's the Centenary Chapel.
Oh yes.
With the tram car swinging around this corner.
Centenary Chapel's that sort of peachy coloured building.
Yeah. Which means we made it to Camborne.
We have.
the tramway turned into Trelowarren Street and followed it to the square where the route ended. So we've arrived at the point where the tramcar stopped. Got a lovely photo here. We're at the top of Camborne, Trelowarren Street, and you can make out 3 gables on top of a tall building there, which I think is behind me. Can you see it?
I can. Very good.
So at this point, the driver went to the other end of the tram and just drove away again back towards Redruth.
Oh, so you didn't turn it around then?
No.
Okay.
No. The electric tram service was decommissioned in September 1927 due to the increased popularity and competition from buses. On the 29th of September, the last tram ran amid memorable scenes. Camborne School of Mines student band banged a gong as people hung from the side for one final ride. Over 25 years, the tramcar fleet had travelled 3.6 million miles and carried 32 million passengers. Today, all evidence of it has gone.
So we've got to walk back now?
Yeah.
I got a good idea.
What's that?
Let's get the last tramcar out of Camborne.
I think you've missed that by nearly 100 years.
Oh.
Apparently the last tram that ran was so packed with people, they were hanging off the sides.
Really?
Yeah. This is a relatively easy walk to follow, and we've put a quick walk instructions up on our Patreon page for Cornish Walker and above. Our walk following the tramcar, the electric tramcar from Redruth to Camborne.
Yeah, I hope you found our video interesting. I think it's really interesting seeing how things have changed, looking at those old photographs and seeing what they look like now.
We have plenty of those old photographs to make the comparison, I agree. And I enjoyed looking at all the old mining heritage in the area.
Yes, if you find yourself in Camborne and Redruth, it's well worth a visit to look at the old mine buildings.
All aboard the Pasty Special.
So until next time.
Bye!
I think we got away with it, Sarah.
What's that?
Hey, they'll never notice we film this over 2 days.
Yes, sometimes these videos take longer than we expect.